Uh, Now I'd like to recognize Mr. Joe Olson for his testimony.
Good afternoon, Senator Baldwin and all the senators here today. Thank you so much for holding these important hearing and for the opportunity to testify. My name is Joe Olson. I am the president of the Communication Workers of America, Local 4621, and I am an outside technician handling business services for AT&T. I have now worked for AT&T for nearly 20 years, since I have left an electrical apprenticeship and began working there as a lineman. I then went on to oversee the line work, later to become a cable splicer, then a fiber splicer, then an electronic installer, and now I install fiber optic services for businesses in and around Appleton, Wisconsin, where I live with my beautiful wife and lovely daughters. This work has often been challenging and stressful, but it has been very rewarding for me, especially with our union contract. This job allows me to make a decent living, provide for my family, and will hopefully allow me to put each of my daughters through college one day. And on a day-to-day basis, I am providing important services and businesses in our region to help them grow and create more good jobs. Unfortunately, many of our coworkers have not been so lucky. This Thursday, AT&T will be closing its call center in Appleton, Wisconsin, putting over 20 of my colleagues out of work. This call center has been shrinking for years now, as there were almost 400 workers at this call center just a decade ago. You can imagine what the loss of 400 good jobs has done to a pretty small community like Appleton. Next week, 5 of our premise technicians will also be let go, out of 13 overall in the state of Wisconsin. 2 years ago, Appleton had 48 premise technicians and will soon only have 17 left. Across the country, AT&T has cut more than 12,000 jobs over the last year. That's partly due to failures investing in growing our company and our customer base. And it's partly due to the outsourcing and the offshoring of jobs. At the same time that our call center in Appleton and others across the country are closing, we now at AT&T has opened 2 call centers in Mexico, one in Mexico City and one in Guadalajara, that employ 2,475 people today and continue to grow. These are not third-party contractors. This is AT&T itself setting up in Mexico to more easily exploit and underpay workers who serve U.S. consumers. That's happened despite the fact that our CEO loudly promised that our company would create at least 7,000 jobs if the corporate tax cut passed. Our company and executives are beginning to richly reward by the tax cut to the tune of about $3 billion per year. But unfortunately, they have not passed those benefits on to workers. That's actually only the beginning of the problem. AT&T also cut its capital expenditures by $250 million last year compared to 2017. That's after promising to increase of $1 billion to invest during the rush to pass the tax cut bill. Failing to invest in building out our infrastructure likely means that even fewer jobs going forward. In fact, I and 14,000 of my coworkers have been working under an expired contract for nearly a year because AT&T refuses to improve job security language to ensure that these kinds of cuts won't continue to happen. So if AT&T has been cutting jobs, what has it used its tax windfall for? In part, stock buybacks to help boost the short-term and share price and reward company executives who are paid largely in stock awards. Last year, AT&T conducted $609 million in stock buybacks and the highest level of buybacks that the company has done since 2014. That money alone could have funded 6,625 jobs. Since 2013, AT&T has actually conducted a total of $16.5 billion in stock buybacks. So it is no wonder that the company has failed to invest in creating jobs and building out the technology infrastructure that is needed for the 21st century economy. I am not seeking to make tens of millions of dollars per year like our CEO and so many other CEOs. Like I said, I simply want to keep good working jobs that I am proud of, take care of my family, and put my daughters through college someday. But all of that is jeopardized when the company like AT&T are allowed to spend their extra resources on buying back stock and manipulating the stock price and benefit executives, rather than investing in workers and building out our company to be ready to take on the challenges of the future. For too long, corporate executives like those at AT&T have decided to prioritize making their short-term share price as high as possible instead of helping the workers who have built the backbone of the company. I urge Congress to stop these malicious stock buybacks and help create jobs to benefit the community like mine, Appleton, Wisconsin. Thank you much.
Thank you. Oh, I appreciate all of your testimonies. Mr. Olson, over the last decade, AT&T has spent equal to 140% of its profits on buybacks and dividend payouts. Last year, it bought $609 million of its own stock while fighting workers with demands of improved wages, but fighting to make sure that that didn't happen. Moving jobs overseas, as you talked about in your testimony, and closing call centers, including the one in Appleton, Wisconsin. Tell me how you think buybacks and the closing of the call center in Wisconsin are related.
I think if AT&T was investing in its infrastructure, building out, I think of the small community of New London, which is serviced out of Appleton, Wisconsin. You look at the infrastructure that AT&T built and started with. They grabbed the metro areas for their UVerse idea, and they went with Appleton and Neenah. The build-out really pretty much didn't go much beyond that, stayed in the densely populated areas. If they were reinvesting into the corporation, into the company, and they would continue their build-out, areas like New London, Wisconsin would have better than dial-up service. They would have better than a DSL service providing high-speed internet. Also promoting the ideas and products into a new market, a rural market, or even expanding into areas that they didn't provide this service, keeps the brand recognition up. And you would need people to then sell that product. You know, that would keep the Appleton call center open, in my opinion. If you have the product available to sell and you're expanding your footprint and what the product you offer, you would definitely need people to sell that and provide information on it and service those customers.
Any further questions? Just